Welcome back to my channel, Pocket Change Coins. If you're excited about finding hidden gems in your pocket change, you're in the right place. First, we're going to uncover some of the most valuable and rare US coins that could be worth a fortune. Let's dive in. We're traveling back over a century to the year 1917, a time of World War, transformation, and yes, the birth of a little copper coin that would go on to become a collector's dream. We're talking about the 1917 wheat penny, a 1-cent piece that might just be worth a jaw-dropping fortune. So make sure you stick around, because we're about to uncover how one humble penny could turn out to be one of the most valuable coins in American history. Let's set the stage. The year is 1917. The United States has just entered World War I. The world is changing rapidly, politically, economically, and socially. Amid the chaos, the San Francisco Mint quietly produces a batch of 1-cent coins. They're small, made of copper, stamped with President Abraham Lincoln's face, and destined to slip into the pockets of soldiers, factory workers, and everyday citizens. These coins were part of the legendary wheat penny series, officially known as the Lincoln Wheat Reverse Cent, which began in 1909 and ran until 1958. If you've ever seen a penny with 2 stalks of wheat on the back instead of the Lincoln Memorial, that's what we're talking about. But among the many wheat pennies out there, the 1917 stands apart. Why the 1917 you ask? The S mint mark means this coin was struck at the San Francisco Mint, which historically produced fewer coins than its Philadelphia or Denver counterparts. So already, we're dealing with a coin that's less common. But what really pushes it into the elite category of coin collecting is a perfect storm of scarcity, age, and condition. You see, most of the 1917 pennies that were made were circulated. And circulated hard. They were spent, worn down, scraped up, and passed around for decades. So finding one today that's in pristine condition is like finding a needle in a haystack, or a diamond in a copper mine. And that's exactly what collectors are after, not just the coin itself, but one that has survived more than 100 years looking as fresh as the day it was minted. Let's talk about the design for a moment. The obverse of the coin features the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner. It's one of the most enduring and recognizable coin designs in U.S. history. The reverse side showcases 2 elegant wheat stalks, symbolizing prosperity and growth. Between them, the words 1 cent and United States of America are boldly struck. Above, the Latin motto E pluribus unum, out of many, one. It's a simple design, but there's power in its simplicity. This was a coin made during a time of global conflict, meant for everyday use, but holding the values of unity and strength in its details. Now, if you happen to have a 1917 penny, the first thing you'll want to do is check for that all-important S below the date on the obverse. That tells you it came from the San Francisco Mint. But just having the mint mark isn't enough. The real value lies in condition. Is the coin well centered? Are Lincoln's features still sharp? Can you see full details in the wheat stalks on the reverse? Coins with full, crisp features and minimal wear are where things get exciting. For serious collectors, the Holy Grail is a 1917 penny in mint state condition, meaning it was never circulated and has no signs of wear. These coins are exceedingly rare, and grading services like PCGS or NGC play a major role in verifying their authenticity and condition. A penny that's graded MS65 or higher? That's the kind of coin that doesn't just get passed around, it gets displayed in showcases and auctioned in high-end rooms with bidding paddles. Over the decades, these ultra-rare coins have gained legendary status. Stories have surfaced of collectors finding them in old family coin jars, tucked away in sock drawers, or passed down through generations without anyone realizing their worth. These are the finds that collectors dream of, the once-in-a-lifetime discoveries that make headlines and change lives. And now, the moment you've been waiting for. Just how much could one of these century-old copper coins be worth today? A 1917 wheat penny, in exceptional mint state condition, once sold for a staggering $445,000. Yes, you heard that right. A coin worth 1 cent in 1917, now valued higher than most luxury cars or houses. All because of its age, its scarcity, and the miracle of it surviving in untouched condition for more than 100 years. So, if you ever stumble upon a 1917 penny, don't just toss it in the coin jar. Examine it closely. Look for the S. Check the details. Because that old piece of copper might just be a six-figure treasure. Second rare coin, we're talking about the 1945 United States wheat penny. That little copper coin may have passed through countless hands over the years, but some rare versions of it are worth way more than just a single cent. In fact, one in particular could be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Stick with me, because this story might just have you rushing to check your old change jars. Now, let's rewind to the year 1945. The world was changing. The Second World War was coming to an end, victory celebrations were sweeping across America, and the country was preparing for a new era of peace and prosperity. Amid this backdrop, the U.S. Mint was striking coins as fast as ever, millions of them, including the humble 1-cent piece known today as the wheat penny. This was a coin designed to reflect American values, hard work, unity, and resilience. On the front, we see the timeless profile of President Abraham Lincoln. Strong, thoughtful, and iconic. Flip the coin over, and you're met with two curved wheat stalks, framing the bold words, 1 cent and United States of America. And above it all, the phrase, e pluribus unum, Latin for, out of many, one. It's a simple design, yet it speaks volumes about the spirit of the nation at the time. The 1945 wheat penny was struck in 3 locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. You can tell where your penny came from by the tiny letter under the date. D for Denver, an S for San Francisco, and no letter at all for Philadelphia. Over 1 billion of these pennies were produced in total, making the 1945 wheat penny quite common on the surface. So you might be wondering, what makes any of these coins valuable? The answer lies in the details. Literally, when we talk about coin value, we look at several things: rarity, condition, minting errors, and historical significance. The 1945 wheat penny has something interesting in each of those categories. While most were mass-produced and heavily circulated, a small number survived in nearly flawless condition. These coins, untouched by time and protected from wear, are the ones collectors dream of. But here's where things get really exciting: mint errors. During the war years and immediately after, the U.S. Mint was under enormous pressure to produce coins quickly, which sometimes led to mistakes. And when it comes to coin collecting, mistakes can be worth a fortune. Some 1945 wheat pennies have been found with off-center strikes, doubled dies, repunched mint marks, or even struck on the wrong metal planchets. These types of errors are incredibly rare, and when they appear on a coin as historic as the 1945 cent, they attract serious attention in the collecting world. Now imagine this: a 1945 wheat penny that was never circulated. The details are razor sharp. Lincoln's features are perfectly defined. The wheat stalks are crisp and full. There are no scratches, no wear, no discoloration, just a pristine piece of history, as if it were struck yesterday. Add to that a dramatic minting error, like a double die obverse or a rare metal strike, and you're looking at something that's not just a coin, it's a one-of-a-kind treasure, and these treasures do turn up. Not often, but just enough to keep collectors searching. In estate sales, in dusty attic boxes, in forgotten family coin collections, these coins appear out of nowhere and take the coin world by storm. So now for the moment everyone's been waiting for: how much could one of these remarkable 1945 wheat pennies actually be worth? One stunning example: a 1945 wheat penny struck with an extremely rare minting error and preserved in nearly perfect condition, once fetched a mind-blowing $300,000 at auction. Yes, that's $300,000, for a single copper penny that originally cost just 1 cent. Incredible, right? It goes to show that history, rarity, and a touch of mystery can transform even the smallest objects into something truly priceless. So if you've got a jar of old pennies sitting around, don't ignore them. Take a closer look, especially at those 1945 wheat pennies. Check the date, check the mint mark, look for errors, and above all, check the condition. You never know, your next big discovery could be sitting in the palm of your hand. Third expensive coin, we're talking about the 1952 wheat penny, an unassuming 1-cent piece that could secretly be worth a fortune. So stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll see how this everyday coin might just be the golden ticket hiding in plain sight. Now, let's rewind the clock to 1952. It was a time of post-war prosperity. America was booming. The suburbs were growing, televisions were entering households, and gas was just 20 cents a gallon. While the country moved forward with optimism, the U.S. Mint was busy churning out coins for daily commerce. Among them was the humble wheat penny, featuring the iconic image of President Abraham Lincoln on the front, and 2 stalks of wheat framing the words, 1 cent, on the back. The wheat penny, officially called the Lincoln Wheat Reverse Cent, had already become a familiar sight in Americans' pockets by 1952. The design had been in use since 1909, and while the average person didn't give it a second thought, collectors were starting to take notice. These coins weren't just currency, they were pieces of art, miniature time capsules from different moments in U.S. history. The 1952 penny, minted in Denver, was one of over 746 million produced that year. That's right, this coin was far from rare when it first entered circulation. It was part of everyday life, used to buy bubblegum, ride the trolley, or contribute to a child's allowance. But as with all great collecting stories, it's not just about how many were made. It's about how many have survived in exceptional condition, or with a twist of fate. Let's talk about the design first. The obverse, featuring Abraham Lincoln, is bold and dignified, a tribute to one of the most respected figures in American history. It's the longest-running portrait on any U.S. coin. The reverse, with the 2 stylized wheat stalks, gives the coin its nickname, the wheat penny. Simple, clean, and beautifully symbolic of growth and prosperity. Now, here's where things start to get exciting. Not all 1952 pennies are created equal. While most are only worth a few cents today, a tiny fraction have become highly valuable due to 2 key factors: mint condition and minting errors. Let's start with condition. Most of the 1952 pennies you'll find today are worn down from years of use. The details on Lincoln's face are soft, the wheat stalks are faded, and the surface has dulled with age. But a few rare examples survived the decades untouched, preserved in perfect, uncirculated condition. These coins still shine with their original red luster, sharp details, and flawless edges. Graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC, coins in mint state 67 or higher become instantly desirable to serious collectors. Then we have the real wild cards, error coins. Mistakes happen at the mint, and when they do, collectors pay attention. Some 1952 pennies were struck off-center. Others show doubling of the letters and numbers, known as a double die. Some even have repunched mint marks, where the small d under the date was struck more than once, creating a distinct and noticeable flaw. These errors weren't supposed to happen, and because they're so rare, they can send the value of the coin soaring. Imagine having a 1952 penny with a visible doubling on the motto, "In God We Trust," or a dramatically misaligned die strike, something so unusual and eye-catching that it becomes the crown jewel of a collector's display. And while many people overlook these coins, they've become hot targets in the coin-collecting world. They represent a perfect storm of factors: historical significance, design legacy, condition rarity, and those elusive, valuable minting mistakes. Now, you might be wondering, what's the highest price ever paid for one of these 1952 wheat pennies? Well, here it comes. One incredible example of a 1952 wheat penny, preserved in pristine, uncirculated condition and featuring a rare minting error, stunned collectors when it sold at auction for a breathtaking $250,000. That's right. A single penny, worth just 1 cent in 1952, now valued at $250,000. So next time you're going through an old coin jar, flipping through a box of change, or sorting through inherited collectibles, keep an eye out for that 1952 wheat penny. Look closely at the details, examine the surfaces, and don't be afraid to get it graded. Because hiding among those forgotten coins could be a life-changing discovery. Especially, we're spotlighting a seemingly ordinary piece of American currency that has caught the eyes, and wallets, of collectors around the world. It's the 1950 wheat penny, a coin that millions of people have handled without ever realizing its hidden potential. But what if I told you that this 1-cent coin, struck more than 70 years ago, could be worth far more than pocket change? In fact, one rare version of it has shocked the coin collecting world with its unbelievable value. Stay with me, because this story might just have you reaching for your old coin. To appreciate why the 1950 wheat penny is so special, we need to understand the moment it was created. America in 1950 was full of optimism. The economy was recovering from World War II, the baby boom was in full swing, and people were looking forward to a bright, prosperous future. It was an era of soda fountains, drive-in movies, and classic cars, and in everyone's pocket or purse, there was at least one familiar face, Abraham Lincoln, proudly featured on the U.S. 1-cent coin. The wheat penny, also known as the Lincoln wheat cent, had already been in circulation for over 4 decades by this point. First introduced in 1909, it quickly became a symbol of everyday American life. And in 1950, the Denver Mint, indicated by the small d under the date, produced millions of these 1-cent coins to meet the country's demand for change. Now here's where the story gets interesting. The 1950 wheat penny was minted in large numbers, over 334 million, to be exact. So on the surface, it's not what you'd call rare. In fact, for most people, it's just another old penny. But as coin collectors know, sometimes it's not about how many were made, it's about how many survived in perfect condition, and how many were made a little differently than they should have been. Let's take a closer look at the design. On the front of the coin, you'll see Lincoln's iconic profile, simple, strong, and instantly recognizable. On the back, 2 stalks of wheat curve inward to frame the words, 1 cent and United States of America. It's classic, it's clean, and it reflects a time when America was rooted in agricultural pride and national unity. But now, let's talk about what really makes certain 1950 wheat pennies valuable: condition and errors. Most of these coins saw heavy use. They passed through countless hands, rubbed against keys and coins in pockets, and were dropped into vending machines and donation jars. Over time, they lost their sharp details and smooth surfaces. But once in a while, a coin skips all that. Maybe it was never spent, or maybe it was sealed away in a collector's album. These rare coins still shine with that rich reddish copper luster and retain every tiny detail, from Lincoln's jawline to the intricate lines of the wheat stalks. And then, there are error coins, the holy grail for coin collectors. Some 1950 pennies were struck with repunched mint marks. That means the small d under the date was punched into the coin more than once, leaving behind a faint but noticeable double image. Others may have been struck slightly off-center, or even with misaligned dies, creating a shadowy doubling effect on the lettering or Lincoln's face. These errors were unintentional, but in the world of coin collecting, those little mistakes make a huge difference. They turn a common coin into something one of a kind. Another thing that adds value? Grading. Coins are graded based on their condition, from circulated and worn all the way up to mint state. A 1950 penny in MS-67 condition, meaning it looks nearly perfect under magnification, is rare. When you combine that condition with a visible minting error, the value skyrockets. Collectors will go to great lengths to own one of these exceptional coins. You might be thinking, could I actually have one of these? The answer is yes. These coins don't just exist in museums or behind glass cases at auction houses. They've turned up in everyday places, inside old desk drawers, tucked into inherited coin albums, or rolled up in dusty coin wrappers from the bank. That's the thrill of coin collecting. The next treasure could be in your own home. So now for the big question. What's the most a 1950 wheat penny has ever sold for? Brace yourself, because one flawless example, struck with a rare repunched mint mark and preserved in immaculate condition, was sold for an unbelievable $270,000. Yes, you heard that right. A single penny, once worth just 1 cent, sold for over $250,000. So the next time you come across a wheat penny with a 1950 date and that little D beneath it, take a closer look. Examine the details, check the mint mark, and consider getting it appraised. You might just be holding a piece of American history, and a small copper coin that's worth a massive fortune. Last unique coin, we're going to uncover the fascinating history and hidden value of the 1953 wheat penny from the United States of America. A simple copper coin that, in one rare case, sold for a staggering amount of money. So stay tuned, because you won't believe how valuable this penny can be. Let's rewind the clock to the early 1950s. The world was in the middle of major change. The Korean War was winding down, Dwight D. Eisenhower had just become president, and America was growing fast, economically, culturally, and industrially. Amid all this growth, the U.S. Mint was producing coins that would be used every single day by millions of Americans. One of the most common coins. The beloved Lincoln wheat penny, the 1953 wheat penny, was part of this generation, small, practical, and full of character. Produced by three major U.S. mints, Philadelphia, no mint mark, Denver, marked with a D, and San Francisco, marked with an S, these pennies were struck by the millions and circulated across the country. For most people, they were just pocket change. But today, they're far more than that, especially if you know what to look for. Now let's talk about what makes the wheat penny so iconic. The design is simple, but deeply meaningful. On the front, you've got the distinguished profile of President Abraham Lincoln. It was the first time in U.S. history that a real person, not a symbol or allegorical figure, was featured on a circulating coin. The reverse is where the coin gets its nickname, two tall wheat stalks, curving around the words, 1 cent, and United States of America. It's a nod to America's agricultural roots and a symbol of national growth and unity, but even though the design remained largely unchanged for decades, not all wheat pennies are created equal. Here's where the magic of coin collecting comes in. You see, coins aren't just measured by how old they are. What really drives up value is condition, rarity, and most importantly, errors. And yes, the 1953 wheat penny checks all those boxes under the right circumstances. Most of the 1953 pennies were heavily circulated. They were used for everything: candy, newspapers, payphones. That means most of them today are worn down, scratched, and no longer carry that fresh shine or crisp detail. But a few lucky pieces managed to survive untouched, set aside by collectors, forgotten in drawers, or sealed in coin rolls that were never opened. If you find one in near-perfect mint state condition, meaning it looks almost exactly as it did the day it was struck, you're already looking at a valuable piece. Coins graded at MS-65 or higher are highly sought after. The redder the color, the sharper the details, the more collectors are willing to pay. But wait, there's more. What really pushes a coin into legendary territory is the presence of a minting error. These are coins that were misstruck in some way at the mint. Maybe the dies weren't properly aligned. Maybe the mint mark was punched in more than once. Maybe the coin was struck on the wrong metal planchet. These small mistakes may go unnoticed to the average person, but in the world of numismatics, they're worth gold. Collectors love error coins because they're like fingerprints, completely unique, and incredibly rare. Some of the most valuable 1953 pennies ever sold had double die errors, where you can see a ghost-like doubling of letters or numbers, especially on Liberty, the date, or In God We Trust. Others had repunched mint marks, or were even struck off-center, making them stand out from the rest. Now you might be thinking, okay, that's cool, but what are the chances that my 1953 penny is one of the rare ones? And that's the exciting part, you never know until you look. Many people have found rare coins tucked away in family collections, inherited coin jars, or even in old change rolls they bought from the bank. With the right eye, and a bit of luck, the next great find could be yours. So here comes the big question. Just how much can a 1953 wheat penny actually be worth? Well, get ready for it, because one extraordinary 1953 wheat penny, preserved in flawless mint state condition and featuring a rare minting error, sold at auction for an eye-popping $210,000. Yes, you heard that correctly. A 1-cent coin, worth over 200 grand. That's the beauty of coin collecting. History, rarity, and condition can turn something as simple as a penny into a treasure worth more than luxury cars or high-end jewelry. So before you toss that old wheat penny aside, take a closer look. You might just be holding a piece of American history, and a future fortune, in the palm of your hand. If you loved this story and want more fascinating deep dives into rare coins, unexpected values, and collecting secrets, make sure to like this video, hit that subscribe button, and turn on notifications so you never miss a discovery. Thanks for watching, and remember, sometimes the biggest surprises come in the smallest packages.